If this war gets wider, most families will not feel it first through maps, speeches, or dramatic news music. They will feel it through boring failures at home, a refill that does not come, a grocery shelf that looks normal on Monday and thin by Friday, a card reader that stops working, a power cut that turns a full fridge into a warm box. So this video is about the 15 things worth stockpiling now, not from fantasy shopping lists, but from emergency supply guidance, food safety rules, payment data, shipping choke point data, and drug shortage tracking, so that after this, you can build a calm, useful, realistic home reserve instead of wasting money on stuff that looks tough and does almost nothing. The first thing is water, because every fake prep plan falls apart here. People love talking about canned food and fuel, but the body quits faster without safe water than without almost anything else in the house. Official guidance keeps repeating the same plain rule for a reason. Store at least 1 gallon per person per day for several days, and that is for drinking and sanitation, not just sipping. The controversial part is this. Most people who say they are prepared are not even close. They have a case of bottles, maybe 2, and they think that counts. It does not. Water is heavy, boring, cheap, and non-negotiable. That is exactly why people underbuy it. If you live with children, older adults, anyone who works in heat, or pets, your real need can be higher. If you rely on powdered drinks, protein powders, instant food, or medications that need water, your need quietly goes up again. And no, the giant decorative water bottle in the back of the pantry is not a plan if nobody knows when it was stored, whether the container is clean, or how fast the house would burn through it. The smart move is not panic buying. It is building a measured reserve that matches your household size, then labeling it, rotating it, and treating water like the first line of defense instead of the last thing you grab. The second thing is a way to make water safe after your stored supply starts shrinking, because a stockpile without a backup method is just a countdown. This is where people get fooled by gadgets. A lot of households own a pitcher filter and think that means they can handle an emergency. That is not the same as having an emergency water plan. Official health guidance says boiling is one of the best ways to kill germs, generally for 1 full minute, longer at high elevation. It also says chemical disinfectants like unscented household chlorine bleach, iodine, or chlorine dioxide tablets can kill most germs. But not everything works equally well against every threat. Filters can help, but health guidance also warns that after filtering you may still need chemical disinfection, because filters are not magic and viruses are their own problem. There is another uncomfortable truth here. If water is contaminated with harmful chemicals, toxins, or radioactive material, boiling or disinfecting will not make it safe. That means your water setup should not be one trick. It should be layers. Stored water, clean containers, a way to boil, a treatment option, and a basic understanding of what each method can and cannot do. Even the way you store it matters. Official guidance says sanitize the container first, label it, keep it away from sunlight and toxic substances, and replace stored tap water every 6 months. That sounds fussy until the day you need it. Then it sounds like the difference between real preparation and false confidence. The third thing is shelf-stable staple calories. The plain stuff many people skip because it is not exciting enough for survival marketing. Rice, oats, pasta, dried beans, lentils, flour, if you actually use it, cereal, crackers, and similar basics are what keep a house fed when money gets tight and deliveries get weird. Here is the part people miss. In real disruption, the problem is not only emptiness, it is price, delay, and substitution. You go to buy the cheap familiar item, and it is gone. Or suddenly it costs enough that you start rationing before you even realize you are rationing. Global shipping data has already shown how unstable this can get. Trade growth slowed sharply in 2025, and shipping through the Suez Canal stayed deeply below normal well into that period. Which matters because long detours away from the Strait of Hormuz, insurance spikes, and route disruption do not stay on the ocean. They show up in warehouse timing, grocery margins, and what your local store decides to restock first. The controversial truth is that the smartest pantry is not glamorous. It is repetitive. It is the foods you already eat, packed deeper than usual, bought gradually, and rotated so nothing turns into a dusty regret. People who build a pantry around novelty meals usually end up with expensive clutter. People who build it around plain calories end up with food they can actually use under stress. The fourth thing is ready-to-eat protein and fat. Because a lot of calories keep you alive, but protein and fat keep meals from turning into sad bowls of starch that people stop wanting after 3 days. Canned beans, canned fish, canned meat, nut butters, shelf-stable milk, powdered milk if your house already uses it, and other easy proteins matter more than people think. This is also where power outages change the game. Official food safety guidance is blunt. A refrigerator keeps food safe for only about 4 hours without power if the door stays closed. A full freezer buys about 48 hours, or about 24 if it is half full. That means the food most families think of as their backup food is often the first food they lose. Your freezer is not a bunker. It is a clock. So if a war escalation means cyber trouble, fuel trouble, weather overlap, or just nervous infrastructure, the foods that do not care about electricity suddenly become the adults in the room. This is why the boring shelf of canned protein is not old-fashioned. It is modern risk management. And while people argue online about dramatic scenarios, the real household question is much simpler. If the lights go out tonight, what protein can you still eat tomorrow without gambling on thawing meat and wishful thinking? That answer should already be sitting on your shelf. The fifth thing is food that needs very little fuel and the simple tools to open and cook it, because people routinely stock food they cannot actually prepare on a bad day. This is one of the biggest quiet mistakes in home prep. A pantry full of items that need long boiling, lots of water, careful refrigeration after opening, or steady kitchen power is not as strong as it looks. What you want are foods that can be eaten cold, heated quickly, or stretched with minimal effort. Instant oats beat fancy grains that take forever. Soup and broth beat ingredients that need a full recipe. Shelf-stable milk beats hoping the refrigerator survives. A manual can opener is not old-timey nonsense. Official emergency lists still include it because canned food without a way to open it is just metal storage. The same goes for basic utensils, paper towels, and simple cleanup options. The controversial point here is that many people shop for emergencies like they are shopping for a mood board. They imagine a calm kitchen, plenty of time, and stable utilities. Real disruption is messier. You may be tired, anxious, low on water, low on fuel, and not in the mood to babysit a complicated meal. Stock for that version of yourself. Stock for the weakest day, not the fantasy day. The sixth thing is prescription medication and backup medical supplies. And this one is where people get reckless because they assume the system will hold no matter what. It usually does hold until it does not. And then everyone discovers at once that the refill window, the pharmacy inventory, the prior authorization, and the delivery truck all matter. Drug shortage tracking has shown how real this problem is. The current tally of active drug shortages is over 200, and a meaningful share involves controlled substances, which can be especially painful for people who need regular monthly fills. That does not mean panic hoarding or doing anything illegal. It means talking to your prescriber or pharmacist now about what a lawful emergency cushion looks like for your situation, asking about refill timing, and keeping the basics that support the medicine, not just the medicine itself. If you need glasses, keep a backup pair. If you use hearing aids, think about batteries. If you rely on an insulin pump or another home device, official guidance says to keep extra batteries, extra pump parts, and backup supplies on hand. The ugly truth is that in a disruption, people often do not fail because of a total collapse. They fail because of one missing piece. One reservoir, one charger, one pen needle, one overlooked refill. That is why this category belongs near the top, not buried behind pantry talk. The seventh thing is over-the-counter medicine and a real first aid setup, not the sad little box with 2 bandages and 1 mystery packet that expired during another administration. In a strained moment, small problems get expensive fast. A fever becomes a long night. Diarrhea becomes dehydration. An allergy flare ruins sleep. A cut gets ignored because the store is closed or the roads are bad. So this is the shelf that should include the basics your household actually uses. Pain relief, fever relief, antihistamines, stomach medicine, oral rehydration support, a thermometer, bandages, gauze, gloves, antiseptic, and anything else that turns a manageable problem back into a manageable problem. Official emergency lists keep a first aid kit near the top for a reason. It is not because every crisis becomes a battlefield. It is because inconvenience multiplies risk. The controversial part is that a lot of people would rather spend on expensive gear than buy a second bottle of the plain medicine they always need. That is backwards. The glamorous item gets the brag. The duplicate box of cold medicine gets the job done. A useful stockpile is often just the same ordinary household goods, only deeper, fresher, and organized before stress hits. The eighth thing is sanitation and toilet supplies, because when people imagine hardship, they picture empty food shelves. But they forget how quickly daily life gets disgusting when cleaning yourself. The bathroom, dishes, and trash becomes harder. Toilet paper, feminine hygiene products, diapers if anyone in the house needs them, soap, hand sanitizer, moist towelettes, garbage bags, plastic ties, and simple disposable items matter because stress is bad enough without turning your home into a sanitation problem. Official emergency lists call these items out very directly. That is not overkill. It is realism. One of the biggest lessons from past shortages is that people mock the ordinary item until it disappears. And then suddenly it becomes the most talked about product in the country. The hard truth is simple. A household can tolerate bland meals for a while. It tolerates poor sanitation much worse. Hygiene is not a luxury category. It is a stability category. It protects health, routine, dignity, and morale all at once. It also prevents people from burning through safe water faster than they expected because they failed to plan the sanitation side of the house. The households that stay calm in disruption are often not the ones with the most dramatic gear. They are the ones that made sure the bathroom, kitchen, and trash can still function like normal life. The ninth thing is cleaning and disinfecting supplies, and this is where smart stockpiling starts looking almost boring enough to be brilliant. You want dish soap, laundry detergent, household cleaner, unscented bleach where appropriate, gloves, and enough of the daily basics that dirt does not start defeating the house. Bleach in particular shows up again and again in emergency guidance because it can matter for sanitation and, in some cases, for water treatment when used correctly. But this is also where people get sloppy. Fancy scented products are not the same as practical emergency cleaning tools. A home that cannot clean dishes well, sanitize surfaces, manage contaminated messes, or wash clothes burns through morale and health fast. There is a reason emergency guidance keeps pairing food and water with sanitation and disinfecting. These are not separate worlds. They are one system. If you cannot clean, you waste more food, get sick more easily, and create extra stress in a house that is already running hot. The controversial part is that many people would rather buy one expensive survival item than quietly add 3 months of soap and detergent. But if stores get thin, shipping slows, or prices jump, the family with clean dishes, clean hands, and clean clothes will feel more in control than the family with a flashy gadget and no laundry soap. The 10th thing is baby supplies and special diet food, and this is where generic advice can become dangerous if you follow it lazily. If your household has a baby, a medical diet, food allergies, celiac disease, swallowing issues, kidney restrictions, tube feeding, or any other nutrition rule that limits substitutions, then your emergency food is not the same as everyone else's. Official emergency lists specifically call out infant formula and diapers because babies do not care that the store still has 10 other products in stock. If it is not the one they can use, it may as well be an empty shelf. The same logic applies to adults with restricted diets. In a strained market, the first thing people say is, just buy something similar. That sounds practical until your household cannot safely use the substitute. So do not build a stockpile around average people if your house is not average. Build it around your real needs. Keep enough of the exact items that matter. Rotate them. Watch expiration dates. And remember that stress shopping is when mistakes happen. People grab close enough products under pressure and only realize later that close enough was not enough. A serious reserve closes that gap before it opens. The 11th thing is pet food, extra water, and pet medication, because the lie people tell themselves is that they will figure the pet part out later. Later is when every other pet owner is also trying to figure it out. Official emergency lists explicitly say to keep food, water, and supplies for your pet. And that is the right way to think about it. Pets are not side notes. They are mouths to feed, creatures with stress responses, and in some homes, medical dependents with their own prescription schedules. If your dog eats one exact food without stomach trouble, that matters. If your cat needs a special litter type, that matters. If your pet takes heart medicine, seizure medicine, insulin, or anything else that cannot just disappear for a week, that matters. The controversial point is that some people will spend hundreds preparing for themselves and then assume the animal that depends on them can improvise. It cannot. Also, do not forget the boring items around the food: litter, cleanup bags, pads, and backup bowls. A pet problem becomes a household problem very fast when stores are crowded, roads are slow, or you are sheltering in place longer than expected. A household plan that ignores pets is not complete. It is just incomplete in a way that stays hidden until it becomes emotional. The 12th thing is batteries, flashlights, and fresh detector batteries, because darkness creates chaos out of proportion to how simple the fix really is. Official health guidance says the average person experiences about 4 hours of power loss each year, and that is just the average, not the bad event. In a larger emergency, outages can last much longer, especially for households using home medical equipment. This is why emergency lists still call for flashlights and extra batteries, and why that advice never goes out of style. People love to say phones solve everything. Phones do not light a room for long. They do not like cold weather, and they are useless when they are dead. A real lighting plan means more than one flashlight, batteries that fit the devices you actually own, and fresh batteries for smoke and carbon monoxide alarms if your home uses them. The controversial truth is that a lot of modern households are less resilient than older households in this one tiny way. They have more screens and fewer simple tools. When the lights fail, they discover they outsourced basic readiness to one rechargeable rectangle. That is not resilience. That is convenience dressed up as resilience. Get the plain hardware, test it, put it where people can find it in the dark. The 13th thing is backup power for communication. Charged power banks, charging cables, car chargers, and a battery-powered or hand-crank radio. This is one of the least glamorous buys and one of the smartest. During stress, information is a supply. If you do not know whether water is safe, whether roads are open, whether a boil advisory exists, whether school is closed, or whether fuel deliveries are normal, you start making bad decisions with confidence. Official emergency kit guidance still includes a battery-powered or hand-crank radio with extra batteries, along with phone chargers and backup batteries, because communication fails in layers. First, your battery drops. Then the local cell network gets overloaded. Then internet rumors fill the gap. A radio sounds old school until it is the only thing still feeding you clean updates. The controversial part is that people trust apps too much. Apps are wonderful when the chain works. Radio matters when the chain breaks. The same goes for charging gear. The cable that is always somewhere is not a backup. The power bank you forgot to charge is not a backup. A backup is something you can reach, use immediately, and trust under stress. Build that boring little pile now, and it will look extremely intelligent later. The 14th thing is cooking fuel and safe backup heat, and this is the part where bad prep can kill people. A backup stove, fuel canisters where lawful and safely stored, matches or lighters, and a basic way to heat food matter. But official health guidance is brutally clear about what not to do. Never use a generator, camp stove, charcoal device, or other fuel-burning equipment inside the house, basement, garage, tent, or camper. Never run a generator less than about 20 feet from a window, door, or vent. Never use a gas oven or range to heat the home. Carbon monoxide is odorless, colorless, and deadly. This is why a battery-backed carbon monoxide detector belongs in the same mental category as your cooking backup, not in some separate home improvement box. The controversy here is that people confuse ownership with readiness. Owning a generator does not make you prepared if the fuel is stale, the cords are wrong, the detector battery is dead, and the placement plan is unsafe. Owning a camp stove does not make you ready if you only discover during an outage that you plan to use it indoors. Good preparation is not just buying equipment. It is buying equipment that can be used safely when everyone is tired and stressed and making worse decisions than usual. The 15th and final thing is cash in small bills and a realistic transport fuel plan, because war risk does not have to knock out your whole country to mess with the boring systems your week depends on. Official emergency guidance still says keep cash. That advice sounds outdated right up until the power is out, the card reader is down, the internet is flaky, or the gas station is open but the payment system is not. And cash is not dead anyway. Federal Reserve payment research found that cash made a smaller share of payments in 2024, but it was still widely used, and most consumers still used or held some cash. In other words, digital won the daily argument, but cash is still the backup language of stress. On fuel, the logic is just as blunt. Global shipping remains exposed to conflict choke points. UN trade data warned that by early May of 2025, ship tonnage through the Suez Canal was still around 70% below the 2023 average, and it flagged the Strait of Hormuz, a route linked to more than one-third of seaborne oil exports, as a disruption risk. You do not need to be an oil trader to know what that means. It means fuel prices can jump, deliveries can wobble, and last-minute driving becomes expensive and stupid. So keep the tank from living on empty. If local law and safety allow, keep a modest, properly stored reserve for equipment that truly needs it. And keep small bills for the ordinary places where the machine says no and the human behind the counter shrugs. Gold bars will not help you buy ice, gas, or cough medicine. $20 bills might. So the big takeaway is not buy everything. It is buy the boring things before they become dramatic. Water first, a backup way to make water safe second. Plain pantry calories. Ready-to-eat protein. Foods that need little fuel. Prescription medicine and medical backups. Over-the-counter medicine and first aid. Hygiene and sanitation. Cleaning supplies. Baby and special diet items. Pet supplies. Batteries and lights. Chargers and radio. Safe cooking fuel. Cash and transport fuel. That is the real spine of a home reserve. Not theater, not panic, not one giant shopping trip that empties shelves and blows your budget. Just a calm, layered stockpile built around what your house truly uses, rotated before it expires, and ready before the crowd remembers it should have done the same. If this helped, like the video, comment with the one item on this list your house is weakest on right now, and share this with the person who thinks preparation means buying one dramatic gadget and calling it a day.